Hey everyone, welcome back to the Trendcrusher podcast. I'm coming in hot with episodes. Breakover. This one, as you've seen, is with my good friend Kshitiz from Chepang, all the way from New York. They've got a new album out, Jhyappa, which is out right now on Relapse Records. We talk about the album, the evolution of the band over the last 10 years as I've been following them, and much, much more. As always, I'm leaving a link to their merch, vinyl, and much, much more in the show notes. Do support them. Check out the band if you like the music. Here's my chat with Kshitij. Hey Kshitij, welcome back to the podcast.
Thank you for having me again. I don't know. I don't. Maybe it's the 666th time.
Yeah, I was actually kind of thinking about it, like how long we've been chatting, and like I think it was around the first album or EP around that time, because at that time I used to not do podcast. I was doing just interviews on my blog and stuff like that, which by the way still is active, so I can probably
Wow,
link.
wow!
Yeah,
I
but not
love that.
not
I love.
yeah, but not as much as I used to. But there was a time where I was like actively reaching out to a lot of bands.
Yeah.
And if I'm not mistaken, I need to give a shout out Anoop Bhatt, the graphic
Um,
illustrator. He was one of the first people who kind of talked, I think, about you guys, and that's how I kind of checked, if I remember
yeah.
well. But yeah, it's been quite a journey, I must say, over the last 10 odd years. So, but how's it been recently for you guys? I mean, like lots of stuff happening on the Chepang end.
Yeah. We've been. I mean, for the last 2 years, I guess, since we did a tour with Bandit and Decultivated in August 2023, I believe, and we've been laying low, of course, right? Trying to record this record, and it's been kind of laying low, and now we have all our we recorded, now we have Relapse, so now it's now things are starting back up again, but most of it was really staying low and grounded, and I don't know, just chilling in the background, you know what I mean?
Yeah, and I think that's around the same time I spoke to Bandit, right? Because
Yeah,
you were the people who again put me on to Bandit, and
yeah,
now you all share drummers, so
yeah.
that's also really cool.
Yeah, even
There,
two drums now, so they even do two drums. They
wow.
are touring right now with Warm Rot, so yeah,
Yeah,
for a couple
yeah,
of
yeah.
shows, tour 'em, yeah.
That's absolutely crazy when I think about just like how small the entire world is in that way. And I think like with grindcore, it becomes even smaller. I mean, like the fact that like they're touring right now with a band from Singapore
Yeah,
and stuff like that is
pretty cool.
absolutely, yeah,
Pretty
yeah,
cool.
pretty cool. But again, coming to why we're talking, right? Because in just over a month, your new album is going to be released, and it's going to be out, like you mentioned, on Relapse Records.
Yeah.
I hope I'm not butchering the name because I actually looked this up,
I
but
want that exactly. Everybody was kind of had a hard time pronouncing.
yeah.
I want to see how you pronounce the record.
So the
You
way I
did.
did, yeah. So Jhyappa,
Oh, there you go. You got it.
yeah,
Japa, yes.
yeah. And it was interesting because when I was thinking about it, right, and
Yeah.
I looked up what it meant because I was looking at it also from the context of
Oh, you did.
the
Okay.
album itself. So it picked up two meanings. One is to
Yeah.
extinguish all of a sudden, and the second is to
Yeah.
complete work instantly. So I was like, okay, wow. I didn't realize it could be used in two contexts. But
Yeah. Dual meaning. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah,
It
but
doesn't mean anything to us, to be honest. In the context of album, it was like Japa, because we had Chotta
hmm,
and then we had Swata. All right, what next? Japa. Japa is all the slang we use all the time in the context. The second meaning where like you finish something is like, did you do that? Japa. You know?
Yeah, and that's why, because I knew with at least Swata and all of that, that you guys kind of end up using. So I was trying
Yeah.
to understand what is the new word that you all decided to kind of
A
pick
lot of
on
people
this
ask
time.
about the trilogy, trilogy. I think we spoke something about the trilogy record, like Chatta, Swata, and then Jhyappa.
Hmm.
And a lot of people ask, I don't think this is anything to now the Jhyappa. It doesn't really it's not really a trilogy record like a trilogy, whatever. It's just a word,
Hmm.
you know, no context. Yeah,
But tell me what it's been like over the last couple of years working on this, right? I mean, especially because
yeah,
from knowing y'all for the last 10 years, y'all have always been up to something, right? Uh,
yeah,
we chat quite often, and you'll always send me like clips or
yeah,
pictures or stuff like that
yeah.
that y'all are doing. And then, like, what's it been like over the last couple of years just to like so marinate, so to say, the entire album and put this
Yeah.
together?
Yeah, the thing is, I think the last album, which was shorter, it was a two, I think, double record. So many things from COVID phase to whatever. We got burnt out, to be honest. By the end, we when we played that festival, like sorry, tour 2002, we were burned. But I think after that burnout or whatever, we felt like, okay, you know what should we do? I think we are burnout. We probably start getting the motivation or whatever to write more songs, and that's how we started writing the song for the albums. And that's we've probably been progressing until now, until last June when we recorded with Kevin, and now signed with Relapse. Now it's there, you know what I mean? That sort of a thing. So it's mostly been quiet, and then slowly gathering the will to write another record, I would say, and then recording it, of course, and finding it interesting again. But we got really, to be honest, like I mean, I was personally burned out after that record, the
Yeah,
last record.
I mean, and even if you kind of reflect, right, that was what literally the way I wrote it was for
Oh
the vinyl, right? And it
yeah,
was like four different sides. I did so much, and I
yes, like 4 years in the making. It was really hard, especially with COVID, right? So you had to do a lot more.
hmm.
So
But would you say then, considering what you're saying right now, that Japa is kind of like stripping back all of that, and now you'll have gone back
100%,
to your
yes,
roots?
100%. Very very focused record. It's stripping back all that improvise, like no more like the here there. A lot of the ideas left and right. It just like head on straight, like focused record. Even from a songwriting lyrics perspective. So
Yeah, and I want to touch upon that a couple of things, right? Like one thing, the press release very clearly kind
yep,
of says that this
yep,
album is far more personal, right? And you're kind
yep,
of re trying to relearn everything about yourself. It
yep.
seems to me to be a little like introspective, and in my head, I was like, "Hey, this is like getting older, right?" But from the
You are
context,
right. You are right. Spiritual. I will say this is the most spiritual record. It's the most positive spiritual record in itself. In the lyrics, also kind of talk about that in general. Referring to all the things that you see. You want to understand more of yourself. You want to be the most authentic self of yourself. Take out the negative in you, right? That's mostly what the record is about. Especially lyrics wise, and of course, getting older, as you said, Peter.
yeah, I mean, I
Wiser,
def
spiritual.
that that's well put. That's well put. I think wiser is the one I'm going to stick with instead of getting older, right? And I
Yeah,
definitely
yeah,
want to touch a bit upon the lyrics in
yeah,
a bit, but take me through that process, right? Because again, when I think Chepang, at some point, I think organized chaos, right?
yeah,
I
yeah,
think like all of you guys, because like again, I'm going back to how I was introduced to the band, right?
yeah,
The first
yeah,
thing I was told was, have you heard a band with two drummers? Like, what the fuck? Have you seen this? And like all of that kind of stuff. And
yeah,
now I see this evolved version of Chipang.
Yeah.
How is it kind of getting everyone on board with this version of Chepang, right? Was it something that everyone was on board? How do you kind of, I mean, again, you talked about the burnout, right? So where did it kind of all initiate, and how do you kind of realize, hey, this is what we want to do for at least this album, if not further on?
Yeah, because I think at that point after the last record, we were at a point where really, we're done with experimentation. We're done with improvise, and we wanted to go back, like all together. We wanted to go back to the roots, where it started, like 2016, Lathi Charge, the 7 inch, very very in your face, to the point record. And we kind of wanted to do that after, like, with the last record we got a burnout, and we said, okay, you know what, time to spin it back, go full circle, and have one focus record this time around, really to the point, and let's do it, kind of thing.
Okay.
Makes
And
sense.
no, no, fair, totally. And I think, like, as someone who's followed your discography, right,
Yeah, you
and
know
seen all
also.
the various splits and things like that, I was just like, oh fuck, like I know this sound, but there's also like newer kind of elements to it, right?
Yes, for
So
sure, always. Yeah.
one of the things is you'll have Reckless Life on Noise, and
Yeah.
he's part of the band. Like, and he was again part of Swata, and I think your previous album also, if I'm not mistaken, right? So he's not someone that's kind of new to the band, so to say, or like to your sound. But now you'll have him as like a credited member. How was that writing process overall, you would say?
Oh, Request Life, yeah, Request Life, yeah, exactly. New element, yeah. I mean, sort of, he played on side B of the last record, Swata. And Chatta, before that, he had just, I think, he did one song remix on side B as well. On this song, we didn't have enough time to, put everything together with him. So he just, he's only in Shakti. But of course, he adds a different element to Chepang, of course, to your question. And that's
Okay.
probably what differentiates, I guess, in terms of listening or song.
No, fair enough. And what I think at this point, since we're talking so much and kind of like keep going back and describing the sound, I think it will be best if we go and play a song from the album.
Yeah.
Which song would you like everyone to hear, and why?
Parichaya 2.0, that means introduction 2.0. So reintroduction, I think that we should play that song because it's a full circle album again, and this is the reintroduction song of us. So I think we should play that.
Awesome. Here it is.
Okay.
And that was Parichaya 2.0. I've got Chepang, and I've got Kshitij from the band here with us. Now, one of the things you talked about was, again, your songs are in Nepalese, right?
Yep.
And that's one of the things I really like about the
Yeah.
band, is that you'll kind of stay authentic. You'll stay, focused on what you'll know, right? You're not trying to like
Yeah.
do something else. Uh, since you mentioned that this album is more personal, right? And thanks first of all for you all to kind of share the lyrics to the album. I was kind of
Yeah,
skimming through it and kind of going through it. Uh,
yeah.
is there a part, a line which, kind of connected with you, or like kind of you felt that, hey, this is truly what the new version of Chepang is? And if you
Yeah,
kind of shared about that.
there's a song called Kill. The beginning song of side B. It's Kill means game, of course. There's a line at the end of this song where Botegor says Moko Merudanda, and it's very catchy. It says Moko Merudanda, and that what means that's in what it means is me and my skeleton, and that kind of gives me kind of the vibe of this album for sure. Me and my skeleton, we have our skeleton attached. Sometimes we need to come out of it, so that's the whole theme behind the whole album as well. So that kind of does it answer your question. So that's the song and the line that really I think inspires me on this record for sure.
Yeah. I know, and I'm glad you picked Kale because I had a question for that song also specifically. Because one
Okay.
thing you'll always do is you'll pick these samples and add
Yeah,
that, right? And I'm going to take a stab at it, considering
yeah.
I at least understand some uh, bit of what's going on.
All
But
right,
in
go for
Kale,
it.
it sounds something like there's those parliaments or sorts where politicians are kind of
Yeah.
talking. Either it's that or like a politician
No, it
speech.
is the parliament. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, 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 I could figure. So
The
why
current
pick
prime
that?
minister Oli. Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Speaking about, you tell me, what did you get out of it? It's parliament, and what did you get the message out of it?
I
Please
couldn't
tell.
figure the rest. That's why I was like curious why
All
y'all
right,
picked
right.
that
We
part.
got a multi-party system, and then it's always chaos in the government, right?
Hmm.
So KPOሊ, basically, the prime minister is saying to the parliament, like he's kind of in a satirical way, because his parliament is the majority winner and they have power, but there's all this other people also want a piece of that pie, right?
Hmm.
So he's in a satirical way saying, give him the piece, even if it's in my party's cause, give him the piece of the pie. Let them make money, please, like thank you, to the parliament, like actually saying thank you with their namaste hand. It is very funny, but he's very very crude politician, so as well. So that's what's there. So
Okay, okay, fair enough. And another track, which I noticed kind of stood out also off the album is uh, Gati Chada.
I know
Uh,
I was gonna say everybody catches that song. Yeah, got his heart. Yeah.
yeah, why is that? I mean, it's strangely enough, first of all, for a grind song, it's like over 3 minutes. Uh,
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
but was that also like, how did that kind of come together?
Got his heart was actually written. I think one of the first songs we wrote for this record. So I don't know what I was listening to, but I think I was listening to Chaos 80s Sepultura era. I think the back then. So sort of like the song was not actually that long. The whole breakdown at the end with the bass and everything made it longer. You know what I mean? But that song for sure stands out on the record. Like every time I make anyone listen, as long as that song comes in, like the first listener goes, their ear goes, oh, like it catches the ear. Is it too long? It's not too long, right, Peter?
No, it was
The
just interesting that the fact that you're, especially like for a grind record, right? Like,
epic grindcore song, let's call it.
yeah. I mean,
Epic.
like, if you think about it, like with most heavy metal or metal of sorts, you'll always have like a ballad which will stand out, or that's the one that gets played. But with grindcore, you don't expect like long songs, right? So I
Yeah,
was
yeah.
just like, and in that perspective, it is long, considering the rest of the album is short. But I felt that like that also came right at the kind of start, right? So it kind of lures people in and kind of
Yeah.
leaves them curious. So cool. That's at least a few songs that kind of stood out of the album for me, and I wanted to definitely talk to you about that. But since you kind of have brought up Relapse a couple of times, right? Again, Relapse is no stranger to anyone who's kind of listened to metal, I don't know, even over the last decade or so, right? I mean, uh, I my whole thing now is make relapse grind again. Uh, because there
Yes,
was
they
a
have.
point where I think everything from death metal to grindcore was being released on Relapse. I mean, they were
Yep.
they were the label that released one of my
Yeah.
favorite grind
True.
bands, Nasu, man. So
Yeah.
I own quite a few
Also
of those
sound,
CDs.
awesome. I mean, you can name it. Mugruder grind. I mean, you can name it like this.
Yeah.
Yes.
So what was that opportunity like? First of all, did you all have the deal with Relapse before writing and recording this album?
No,
Uh,
no, no, no. The
okay.
way it worked out was like we actually reached out to them. I know they've been this. I know for a fact that from someone from Relapse Record always used to order our record straight from
Oh,
Philadelphia. It just comes
wow.
in as Relapse Record. I don't know the name. I forgot who the name, but it was address of Relapse Record. So I think we reached out to Relapse Records on the last record we did, Swata. I had everything ready to go. Like on the pressing plant in itself, everything was ready, and they were they were interested in releasing it, but everything was ready, and so everything fell off. And then we had this record we wanted to write and record, and we recorded, and then I reached out to them again, and they were really interested, and that's how everything came up, that sort of thing. But I
Okay.
want to give a shout out to Andrew Lee from Rip to Shreds. He was kind of, I think I met him during the Gridling show we played, and he was already on Relapse, and I was like, yeah, can we also Chepang release a record? I think we'd be cool under the label, and it's a really great label to be on, like a lot of history. So that's how he linked someone from Relapse, and then we started with Swata, then it didn't work out, then came to Jhyappa. That's kind of the thing. So the history of Chepang and Relapse.
Nice. Nice. That
Years in the making, we have a legendary record now
yeah.
with a legendary label.
No. Cool. So this is a bit of a question for you, right? It's been like close to a decade since Lathi Charge released, and again,
Yeah,
we've brought it
2006.
up a couple of times.
Yeah.
What would you say is stayed the same in Chepang, and what is different since then?
From that record to here, I mean, a lot of things changed. Of course, every record is different, but it's a full circle. What I always I'm referring to Lathi Jazz, as you said all the time, is the intent of the songs really focused to the point is on this record, like Lathi Jazz. After Lathi Jazz, we started experimenting. We were going left and right. Different type of sound, different type of evolution. But Lathi Jazz was, I think, as a happy accident, I would say. It was very intense. We didn't know what was going on, what we were doing. It's just boom, boom, boom. Here we go, right? But this time around, it's yes, it is kind of like Lathi Charge in the sense that it's focused, but again, it's I would say it's more organized focus. I would say we know what we are doing in this record. You know what I mean? In Lathi Charge, we didn't have no clue. Like it just blast beat and fast music. Here we know what we're doing. If you listen to it, I don't know if you noticed, except Gati Chart, all the songs were recorded in metronome. Never done it before.
Oh,
So
wow.
yeah, and everything is in a groove. Like there's an underlying groove to it. We wanted the sound record to be very groovy. And I know it's grindcore, like it's fast songs, but if you really listen, it's all on like it's in a groove.
Okay. Wow.
So that's
I did.
one thing to take away for you.
Yeah, I didn't realize you guys recorded this with a metronome. Shit.
Yeah,
And
first
that's
time ever.
and that's hard, right?
Yeah, very hard, very very hard. The way it recorded, especially I can't play in metronome at all. Govinda had hard time struggling with listening to my guitar and then listening to metronome and drumming. He knew what he did. He said, "Screw with the guitar, just give me metronome. I'll record." And he did it. Was amazing. Just the
Wow.
metronome thing, and he's just like, I mean, I think if you listen to the record in itself, this record is very catchy. The riffs,
Hmm.
and he had that already in his head, so he didn't need no metronome, which is pretty cool. Sorry, not the guitar. Sorry, the scratch guitars.
Hmm.
When you record, you're recording with the drummer. He
Yeah,
has
yeah.
metronome plus the
Yeah.
scratch guitars I'm playing.
Hmm.
I am bad at like metronome. so it was messing him up. It was very hard. So he said, half a session into it, he said, like, screw this. I don't want guitars. I already know the riffs. Just give me the count on my thing. And he did it. That was like a machine like experience.
Yeah, I mean, wow. From the few bands I know that actually record with metronome, they hate
Yeah.
it.
First time ever, because we tried it before as well. It was always like the energy wouldn't be there as
Hmm.
like raw. Like in this record, I think we like I said, it's more focused because we already knew when we were writing the songs what tempo we should
Hmm.
be recording and playing, and how in that tempo how the song would sound already, because when we write, when we practice, it said 180 tempo. We go back and listen. Oh, it's not aggressive. We need to go 190, 195. So at the end of the record writing session, we knew what tempo we should be recording, right? So it made it easier to record like that, and we already had a feel for it. So here you go, more focused, like I said again, never done it before like this. It's more organized, I'm telling you.
Okay, cool. That's a new thing for Chepang. But
Yeah, for sure.
like I mentioned earlier, right? I actually got introduced to Bandit thanks to you guys. And
Yep.
one of the segments I'm gonna do regularly now, I realize, with a lot
Hmm.
of bands and artists that I speak to, is
Hmm.
recommendations from them. So, are there any new bands you would like to recommend for me and all the listeners? And it could be
Mm.
any genre. Doesn't have to be grindcore alone.
Oh, I mean, I listen all kind of musics. I've been listening to right now a Korean sort of indie jazzy pop artist called Huko. Let me just make sure that I pronounce it right. So it's Huko, right? Hyukoh. It's an artist from Korea, and they have a collaboration record that just came out, I think 6 months ago, with a Taiwanese band, a pop Taiwanese band, a dream pop sort of, called Sunset Roller Coaster. And the album's called Triple A. Any song from that, crazy. It's one of the best. I mean, I've been listening to. I have the record. It's so amazing how they have fused these two different cultures, two different type of music. It's so good, to be honest. That's what probably the listeners should listen. Not heavy music, not grindcore.
No, and I'm glad you mentioned that, right? Because I feel like a lot of people think it's all like metal 24/7 and things like that. But
Yeah,
I feel that it's interesting when you talk to artists like yourself. There's always like newer kind of recommendations that you get, and I really
yeah,
enjoy uh,
yeah.
this to
I've
them.
been digging more of that, like the like Asian, Southeast Asian, like old, like J-pop or whatever, disco, whatever they call it. The old songs from Japan, city
Hmm.
pop sort of. I've been trying to unearth more and more of that kind of scene, like from Taiwan, from Korea and stuff like that. So
Yeah, and it's
that's where.
also and just to add, right? I think you kind of appreciate the different kind of production, uh,
Yeah,
also altogether, because I have to be honest, right? Like I have a soft spot for synthwave, and again, I
yeah.
think growing up in like the 80s, 90s, you have that kind of soft spot for that kind of sound.
Mhm.
Honestly, so I listen to a lot, and there are a few artists actually here in India that are doing synthwave. So it's
Can I
good to
tell you
kind of
who's
hear.
my favorite composer of all time in
Go for
India?
it.
Of course, it has to be from Bollywood, right?
Of course, go ahead.
Bappi Lahiri.
Oh man, do you want to hear a cool story?
What is it? The cool story.
Puppy Larry's son was in my school.
Wow, crazy. Same class or different class?
1 year older, 1 year
Uh,
older.
wow.
But it was so cool because once Buppy Larry actually showed up to my school and we were just like, what the fuck? And
Yeah,
Dude, the guy was, how do I say, as authentic as you can think about it. Because he, imagine, showed
amazing.
up to his son's school with all
Yeah.
the bling.
Bling, yeah, right. Nobody knew
Oh,
about that bling. What people was doing back then.
and I'm
Bling,
talking,
bling.
this is like early days of internet, right? So
Yeah,
96, 97, I want to say.
crazy. Yeah,
So no, no one had those phone cameras and no one could take photos and stuff. And someone was like, "Hey, I think Buppy Larry is waiting outside our principal's office." Like,
it's interesting because we just had this conversation with Bote too, like on the show in Warmrod. So we're drinking,
hmm,
and then we talked about somehow we ended up talking about Buppy Larry, and we ended up talking saying that after all these years we have done so much music, listened to all types of music all our lives. I tend to appreciate more Buppy Lahiri now because Lahori, sorry, his last name, because now we understand where he's coming from.
hmm.
It's genius. Like he infused so many types of music, so many different cultures into that music. You know what I mean? Now we get to appreciate more of that because back then we didn't know. Like when we listened to Buppy Lahiri, it was like, oh, Bollywood songs, right? But now we get tend to like understand. We understand where he's coming from a songwriting perspective. I was like, wow, that guy was like genius.
So again,
Is he still alive? I'm sorry,
no,
Peter.
no, he passed
No,
away. He
no, no,
passed
no,
away.
no. Okay, okay, yeah,
Yeah,
okay.
but
Then the next one would be A.R. Rahman. I think he took it in a different level
yeah,
of
yeah,
what Bobby was doing. A.R. blew it up. Like that guy's crazy.
yeah. No, and I think just to kind of touch upon what you're saying, right? If you put together the context of when they were making the music that
Yeah,
they're most popularly known for, just look at like the access to technology, look at the access to like references, the
yeah,
internet, uh, all of that stuff, right? It was very, very different back then. So you have a
yeah,
far more appreciation. I think
yeah.
I actually was having like this very contemplative moment one Saturday, and I was actually sitting and listening to like 90s hits from
Yeah,
Bollywood.
yeah.
And you just listen to the production on that.
Oh yeah.
Like almost 30 years later, it sounds so good because it
Yep.
was just the way it was recorded, right? It wasn't like, oh, sit in a studio, get this
Yeah, yeah,
done. You actually had all of them perform at the same time
yeah.
together.
Ensemble.
Just because we are talking Bollywood and 90s, I'm going to put a link of a couple of playlists also for all the listeners. And especially if you're
Yes.
like not Indian and stuff, I think you will appreciate these songs far more. For some of us, I think it's nostalgia, right? I mean, we grew up listening to this either on TV or radio or stuff like that. Or you probably like me, certain movies I remember watching in the cinema, right? So it's all of those memories that get packaged together. But I don't know if we actually got it, but I'll ask you this question now. Uh, Kshitij, we've known each other for a while, right? And I
Yeah, yeah.
feel one of the things about Chepang is there's no idea what you guys are going to do next, right?
Yes.
There's constantly a surprise element of sorts. So,
Yeah.
not to kind of reveal too much of what's on your cards, but
Mhm.
what kind of direction or what kind of thing would you leave everyone who's kind of tuned into this podcast? Like, what would you say is they can expect from Chepang next?
Groove. Groovy. We're a groove grind band, I would say. It's very groovy. I think this record is very groovy. Like I said, that's probably what you should expect. No more AI. You will love the real Chepang on this.
Awesome. That's good to hear. Uh,
Yeah,
while we're talking kind of what's next on the cards for you guys, is I see you all are playing a record release show with Drugs
yeah.
of Faith, Vixen's Maw, Cartel. Drugs of Faith actually also put out an album this year. Do you
I know.
have any more shows planned in support of the album?
No, that's the one. I mean, we are planning like a August tour with a West Coast tour. We went down to promote the record. But besides that planning and this record release, we don't have anything like major long term for now.
Okay. And since you guys do at one point I think y'all were doing an almost annual trip to this part of the world, more specifically Nepal. Is that
Yeah,
something that's on the cards?
we
And
have
since
to
you're
do it.
coming down to Nepal, why not India, man?
We have to do it. The next time we're gonna come, I promise we're gonna come to India. This is going to be my we have been saying we want to do a last Southeast Asia tour, like especially in Nepal because we played like I think a bunch of times. The tour we also have a name for the tour, for the India Nepal tour. It's called Antim Bhet. That means last meeting, the final meeting. So
Okay.
we will do
Okay.
it. We'll do it. What's a good place? I think Bangalore is a good place to play. I don't know about Mumbai,
Yeah,
right?
Mumbai can be
Hit
like,
and miss.
yeah, it depends, right? And honestly, you can't really predict the crowd.
Yeah.
Bangalore, for some reason, again shows up
Okay.
for a lot of shows. I mean, like, I flew down to Bangalore to watch Defeated Sanity because they were
Okay.
playing, and I was like, what are the chances that Defeated Sanity are going to show up?
They played in Kathmandu too. Long time.
Yeah, those guys are fucking. They loved it. I mean,
Yeah. Yeah.
uh, they were telling me about doing their show,
Yeah.
and I was just like, fuck. So, and they were really cool guys because like we hung out and met
Very cool.
them post the show.
Yeah.
So it was absolutely mental. So yeah, I mean, like that's the thing, right? Like, uh, there's a reason why again a place like a band like Defeated Sanity also showed up to Bangalore. So hey, maybe Bangalore is your spot.
Fine, and you will put you on a VIP guest list. You come
Yeah,
out there and maybe we invite you to the stage to scream with us. One of those unexpected moments. You going wild on stage. It would be awesome.
awesome. Looking forward to something like that happening. But
Yeah.
just to kind of wrap up, right? What else would you say is next, at least for Chepang? I mean, like for everyone kind of tuned in so far.
Yeah, I mean the record coming out. Of course, we're very excited in Relapse, right? We are actually in the process of actually finishing up writing another record already. So that's the new thing. We have 16 songs. Just to give a little teaser. Uh, it's again going to be different. Not same as not like Jhyappa. It's gonna be something different. I won't spill the beans now, but yeah, that's what we're kind of trying to do now.
Awesome. So definitely we won't be talking like that much later or doing a podcast that much later. Sooner than later, I would say. Let's leave it
Yeah,
at that, right? But
yeah.
just to wrap up, final words for everyone who's tuned in so far.
Please feel the power of the song Shakti. And also go Google who Shakti Kapoor is.
Oh, awesome. Great note to end this podcast. As
Yeah,
always, it's a pleasure speaking to you, man. Kshitij.
thank you. Peter. Yeah, thank you.
And that was Kshitij from Chepang. Do check out the band. I hope you enjoyed the single that I played from the album. And like I said during our chat, make Relapse grind again. One of my favorite labels growing up, so it's really great that I get to speak to bands that are on the label right now. If you've listened so far, you know what's coming next. Hit subscribe, follow me on whichever platform you're listening to this episode on. Follow me on social media. I'm Trendcrusher on X and Instagram. Stay tuned for when the next episode's out, most probably in the next couple of days. See you all very soon. Cheers.